Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a new powertrain for the Ram TRX. A pretty interesting topic. With that being said, let's just get right into the video. Now let's talk about this new version of the TRX, and a quick disclaimer before we get into everything. I'm not pulling this information out of nowhere. Basically, all I can tell you guys is that this isn't confirmed, but it's from reliable sources. All I can say. Anyways, let's get into this. First off, right, the TRX has been out for 2 model years so far. We have the 2021 and the 2022 now, and 2023 will most likely be the last model year for the Hellcat version of the Ram TRX, because Stellantis has released a statement saying that they're getting rid of all Hellcat powered vehicles just because of emissions restrictions and the company's push to go towards hybrid and fully electric vehicles, basically. And so it sounds like, again, 2023 will be the last year for the Hellcat version of the TRX. But it doesn't sound like that's going to be the last year for the TRX itself. So before Chrysler and Jeep and all that were bought out by Stellantis, they were developing a turbocharged inline 6 to put into certain vehicles. This has been going on, I think, for like half a decade at this point. The engine's codenamed the Banshee. It's a pretty old idea, right? But they haven't released it in any vehicle yet. They have turbocharged inline 4 cylinders, and they have, the 4xe, which is the inline 4 cylinder with a hybrid system, but they don't have an inline 6 cylinder in any vehicle yet. And it sounds like they've been saving this until they get rid of their big V8 powertrain, so that it's kind of like a transition, basically. They don't want to create competition within themselves with this powertrain. And so what the transition is going to be is the Hellcat TRX is going to be phased out, right? 2023 will most likely be the last model year. And then what will be phased in is this new version of the TRX with a turbocharged inline 6 that'll compete more with the regular Raptor, right? The EcoBoost Raptor. It's going to have similar power outputs, right? It'll probably beat the Raptor because that's what Ram will want to do. So it'll probably have around 500 horsepower, right? And then it'll have over 500 pound-feet of torque, maybe even 600 pound-feet of torque from a power perspective. Still go through the same 8-speed automatic transmission, right? But it'll just be a little bit, it'll be significantly different than the TRX, but it'll be a little bit different than the Raptor, right, from the whole setup. Now, you guys might be wondering a few things, right? Why is Ram doing this? First off, why are they getting rid of the Hellcat powertrain? Obviously, we talked about that with emissions and everything. These restrictions are just getting so strict that it's hard to, or continue to produce a vehicle that averages 10 around town and 14 on the highway from an EPA perspective, and still stay within the EPA ratings that they want in the next few years. So that's why they're getting rid of the Hellcat powertrain. Now, in terms of why they're transitioning over to this powertrain, is it doesn't make sense to get rid of the TRX at this point. The current TRX is actually sold very well, and Ram sees that, and so they obviously want to continue to take advantage of that. And on top of that, they spent a massive amount of time with developing the TRX. It wasn't just them throwing in this big engine into a truck and saying, yep, hopefully it works. This was over half a decade of engineering and researching and all this money and everything that went into creating the TRX. And so for them to just sell a few of them over 3 model years doesn't really make sense, right? And so what they're basically doing is they're doing this like 2-step process where they're going to have this crazy version of the TRX where they can still have it, right, with the Hellcat powertrain. And then once they can no longer have that, then they're going to have a more reasonable version of the TRX that actually has decent fuel economy and all that, that'll compete more directly with the Raptor. And if you're wondering why they didn't release these side by side, it's because they didn't want to create competition within the brand, most likely, right? Because if they had a turbocharged inline 6 version of the TRX alongside the Hellcat version, there's some people that are going to buy that version instead of the Hellcat version, right? And so that's just more competition. And for the amount of, again, the time and the effort and everything that went into creating this truck, they want to make sure that they get somewhat of a return off of that, right? And so what they did is they're like, okay, we're going to release this crazy truck. We're going to have it out by itself. And then once we can no longer sell it, then we'll make a new version, basically, and they won't compete with each other because they won't be sold at the same time. And so that's kind of the transition. And the other cool part about this transition is there's quite a bit of engineering that has to go into making a V8 supercharged truck work for off-road use. Now, you think about how beefed up the TRX is, and then if you put a much lighter weight powertrain into that truck, if they keep all the beefed up components, right, then that truck is going to be absolutely fantastic at off-roading. And so it sounds like this transition is actually going to give us a TRX that is going to be even more capable from an off-road perspective. Yes, it won't have the sound. Yes, it won't have the power. but it's going to have a much lighter weight feel to it, right? It'll have a lighter front end. And so you can imagine these shocks were developed to be able to handle the weight that's associated with that Hellcat powertrain. If you have those same shocks on a truck that's significantly lighter, think about how much stuff it can handle. Think about how crazy that truck is going to be from an off-road perspective. And so I think it's a really smart transition. And it's kind of like the opposite of what Ford's done, right? Because Ford's had the EcoBoost Raptor out for quite some time. And then they're going to release the Raptor, which is going to be a beefed up version. It's obviously going to be way more hardcore than the EcoBoost. It's going to have way more than the EcoBoost. And so it's kind of the opposite of what Ford's doing, and overall, I think it's actually a smart move, and people are definitely going to buy them, right? EcoBoost Raptors sell like crazy, and the TRX has sold very well, but you can imagine if the TRX is less expensive from a base price perspective, and you still have that off-road capability, you're going to have a whole new segment of buyers, right? You're going to have people that are actually going to be there was already a lot of people that had Raptors that moved over to the TRX, but you're going to have even more people because they're going to be like, wow, I can get all the same stuff that I can get in the Raptor, but in this Ram version. And, you know, there's some benefits to the TRX, right? Nicer interior. It rides different on-road, rides different off-road too, frankly, right? Owning both of them, I know. And so you're going to kind of have this sort of shift happen. And I think that's what Ram's looking for. But I don't want this video to be terribly long. And so I want you guys to let me know what you think about this whole situation. If you would purchase a turbocharged version of the TRX, or if you'd rather just get the Hellcat version while it's still available. And with all that being said, I'll see all of you in the next video.